is one of our fundamental core values. It's our society's mission to dispel the preconceived notions that the bar is an elitist profession. With the help of our Inclusivity Week panels and this inclusion networking event, we're able to show students from all backgrounds that there is a place for them at the bar, and there are people that look like them in the profession. Inclusion and diversity at the bar is something that's personally very important to me, as it is for many of you. I'm a woman, a person of colour, and state educated. Initially, I began my A-levels thinking I wanted a career in medicine. And it took a very long time to even admit to myself that the bar was for me. More than anything, I was scared of sticking out. Not having the right enough background or a posh enough accent. But I think every barrister and every aspiring barrister will always have this unexplainable feeling that sits at the bottom of their stomach that says, I am the bar. A mentor of mine once said that inclusion at the bar isn't about helping diverse people find ways to fit into the existing structures. Inclusion is about the bar becoming open to people with diverse backgrounds and experiences. It is the bar that must open itself up. And I look out at this truly incredible room, and I'm so proud of how far diversity at the bar has come, and I'm excited for its future. The wealth of experiences and unique backgrounds we all bring to the bar is what makes it so great. The communities and shared dedication for hard work, resilience and tenacity. And with that in mind, before I hand over to Ruth, I'm delighted to introduce our keynote speakers for this evening. So a very warm welcome to Head of Chambers, QEB Hollis Whiteman and Queen Mary University alumni, Selva Ramazami, QC. A very warm welcome to Head of Chambers at 25 Bedford Row and also Queen Mary University alumni, Jeremy Dean QC. And 29 Bedford Rows, Yasmin Hughes Pugh. A special thanks to all our sponsors for the event, 5 Stone Buildings, 29 Bedford Row, Cell Court, Brick Court, Blackstone Chambers, Matrix Chambers, 3 Temple Gardens and Francis Taylor Building. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoy your evening with us.
My name is Ruth Reed. I'm a criminal barrister. It's quite clear that I'm a female. I'm a young black female, and I was state educated. So this event is very near and dear to me as well. It's been a fantastic to partner with Queen Mary Bar Society for the past few years. We have some fantastic speakers. I will pop back on the mic again to explain the networking event, but thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us in person, and we really hope that you get from the event what we intend for you to get. Thank you.
So how did I end up being a barrister? I graduated, as I've said, with a degree in law from Queen Mary's in 1991. I had a wonderful time at this university. I'm still in touch with many of the friends that I made here. I wasn't, if I'm honest, the most dedicated of students. I'm hoping none of my former lecturers are here tonight. In my first year, I was particularly slack. I got 8% in my public law exam mid-sessional, 8%. And I was triumphant at first because I thought I got 80% until the lecturer pointed out that what I took to be a 0 was part of the percentage sign. And I paused in front of the portrait of that very tutor lecturer, Professor Graham Stan at Cake Counsel, who went on to be head of this university and then of the entire University of London. And I will get my photograph taken next to that picture a little later this evening. The problem I faced is probably one that many of you are facing now, and that is, at that time, I'd never met a barrister, never spoken to a barrister, and I think that's a pretty common feature for any of us from minority backgrounds. We just have fewer opportunities to network in that way, and that's kind of what tonight's about, is to give those of you who haven't had much of a chance to speak to barristers a chance to chat with just people like you. A little bit on inclusion, because I know that's why we're here tonight, and diversity. I, at the end of my pupillage, was lucky to be offered tenancy. I was extraordinarily the first non-white tenant my chambers had ever had. That was 26 years ago. Well, we're talking about inclusion and diversity tonight. Things have changed an awful lot in the 27 years I've been practicing, not least because last year I was appointed joint head of my chambers, and that tells you a little bit of something about the journey that we've all made. My set is now much more diverse than it was, and I'm extremely proud of that. So those are just a few headline points about how we are attempting to tackle issues in relation to inclusivity and diversity, and tackle them, I'm sure we will. The most important point is the legal profession needs to look like and be like the community it serves. And it's utterly hopeless that the legal profession is made up mostly one little sector of society.
Now, I think my first six, of course, was in person, and that was me following around my supervisor, observing what they were doing. And so I was excited to finally get into a courtroom and to put my feet on the ground and say, I'm ready. But obviously that happened behind a camera and Zoom and a CVP platform, which I now actually very love. But that said, obviously I'm very excited for us to be able to go back to court, to feel the sort of camaraderie and bravery of being before a judge in real life. Luckily for me, I then got tenancy in September 2020, and I was kept on at 29 Bedford Road, which I appreciate, and having spoken to some of my friends, it's not always something that happens. And what I will say to you is, at whatever stage you're at, if that's pupillage applications or interviews, or if you are going through the process of pupillage, it will be fine. I am what we call a baby barrister. I am not experienced or esteemed in the way that my colleagues are, but I'm giving it a go and I'm absolutely loving it. But I think one of the things I want to address is my experience in the profession as a woman. The key question when I was preparing this talk was, have I as a woman feel disadvantaged at the bar? And I think the answer on the whole is no. There are, and I will say this, there are some condescending barristers out there, of course there are. There are going to be difficult people in any walk of life. I think the tricky bit, being a junior barrister, is that you sometimes have, and I'm not afraid to say it, some old white males who will come up to you in court and will seek to capitalise on your inexperience because they've Googled you. And they then, I think, coupled with that, see you a woman and sometimes try to capitalise on that. And what I will say to that is, you have come so far, why now wobble? And you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, then who will? Because obviously, we've come a long way. As Silva said, we've had issues in the bar which we're trying to overcome, of course. But my short point is, no, we've got a long way to go. Because how can we expect to have a fully inclusive bar if it doesn't represent who we all are? I think it's very important that we have funding on all levels, because if you're from a low socioeconomic background, then one of the barriers to you getting experience and doing these mini pupillages is likely to be, well, I can't afford to travel the country. I simply cannot afford to go up to Birmingham or Manchester, etc. Because I can't afford the hotel and I can't afford the train fare. So I think it's important that more grants are available at all levels, whether that's lower down in the school system to allow people to experience it, or at university.
When I started at the bar, and for a long time after that, for someone like Selva to be head of one of the leading sets, if not the leading set of criminal chambers, it was a criminal set then, would have been regarded not just as unthinkable, but completely, totally and utterly unacceptable. And for a female like Yasmin to speak at an event like this, not just when I started at the bar, for a long time afterwards, would have been scorned upon on the basis that many barristers, white male barristers, would have said to themselves, what the hell is she speaking for? So this is testament to how far the bar has come. But as both my colleagues have said, there's an awful long way to go. And what I want to do, just in the few minutes that I have, is to tell you a bit about my own story, but also to put that story into context. Because throughout the 1980s, when someone like me, let alone a person from an ethnic background or a female came to the bar, and I was white but Jewish, from a state school with no professional connections, you were completely sidelined. For any of you who want to be barristers, I highly recommend the criminal bar. It's a fantastic occupation, even all these months, years, decades afterwards. I love it as much as I ever did. Every day is different, but every day is long and challenging. And you are, in essence, on standby 24/7. Obviously, you're sleeping for some of that time, but emails come in the evening, in the night, in the morning, and you're expected to deal with issues. What I would say is that, from my experience, having been told when I went to see a barrister before I got my pupillage that I had no chance of getting into the profession and it'd be better for me to try something else, that I treated that piece of advice, if that's the right word, as my inspiration. That barrister, in fact, only retired very recently, and I've spoken to him about what he said to me, and we've joked about it, even though it's not really a joke. But the message that I want to send, and I still believe it to be the case, and I see from the very diverse selection of junior tenants we have in my own chambers, that if you want to follow your heart and follow your ambition, that's what you should do. Because for the people on this panel to have been able to bulldoze their way through the decades in the context of what I've described, it's open to all of you to do exactly the same. What I would say is that just try and secure as many opportunities as you can, get as many pupillages as you can, get to know as many people as you can, and I'm speaking to some of the students tonight. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that it's all about getting a first or a 2-1.
With lots of barristers today and talk about their experiences and what they do in their day-to-day lives as barristers. It was really interesting because we think like a more real-life insight into what being a barrister actually is like.
I would definitely recommend you to come along, even if it's just like interacting with other law students and doing makes a difference.
It was honestly amazing. They put us in contact with so many different lawyers from so many different fields. We asked so many questions and we got a lot of insight for traditional paths and for non-traditional paths into law, really.
So we had the chance to speak to different barristers from different chambers, and it was also just an opportunity for us to understand the legal field, but also in like an informal sort of setting. We just felt comfortable. It was a great chance to network. The event was planned amazingly.
Yeah, we would thoroughly recommend. It was top notch.